I'll call this one Jim's Jobs. My earliest recollection of a job starts at about 10 years old, I think. I wanted more models, the little models that you build, model cars, model airplanes. They were made of wood or plastic replicas with glue and paint, and they resembled the real cars and the real World War II airplanes, which I loved. My parents could only give me so much money, so my father suggested, get a job. Get a job delivering newspapers and make some money and buy what you want. Kind of a basic philosophy that he raised me with. That was a real natural start for boys of my age. So I went and got a job delivering a local newspaper called the Austin News. This was a paper that was published once a week on Wednesdays, so it wasn't difficult. I had a specific route, which was about 2 miles from my house. Every Wednesday, after school, of course, I would get my wagon, pick up my newspapers, about, I think I had 50 or 60 of them, and I would walk my route up this street and down that street and roll the paper up, put the rubber bands around it, and throw it on the porch. I would roll the papers and throw them on the porch as I walked about. I would go around to all the customers. Then, once a month, I would go around to all the customers and collect the money for the paper for that month. I think it was like 15 or 20 cents per month. But I was given half of whatever I collected for that month. So I believe I made $4 or $5 a month. It would buy probably 2, maybe 3 models if I was lucky. Then I moved up from once a week to the Austin News. That was a step up. That was once a week paper, but they had to be delivered before school in the morning. So I had to get up earlier, deliver the newspapers, and then off to school. That was once a week also. I think I had like 30 or 40 papers, and then I come home and had breakfast. That was a little bit more expensive for the people who ordered that paper. Only the ones who ordered it got it. This was okay in the summer and the fall, but in the winter, it got pretty cool. However, the pay, I think, was about 2 times, maybe 3 times what I had made before. Another one of the many values my parents taught me at the time was the honor and value of hard work, making money honestly. Dad would say, whatever you do it the best to your ability. That was true for everything, for every part of life. I was getting used to making money and, of course, spending it too. But that was pretty cool. I should make it, collect it, and spend it. Wow. I was learning the freedom involved as well as the responsibility to make that money and to keep it for a rainy day, as well as the responsibility of getting up early every Wednesday to deliver the paper on time so I could get back and go to school. Lots of lessons in that little job. From the Austin night, I worked my way up to deliver the Chicago Tribune. That was a big step up. The Tribune was a daily newspaper that had to be delivered before school every day. It was a lot of work, but it was double the money from the Austin Night, which was double or triple from the Austin News. Follow? I was making big bucks now, but millionaire maybe. Not really. I had to roll the newspapers and put them in a cloth bag. Roll them up, chuck one inside the other because there's no rubber bands to hold them together. You learn to roll it. And then I tucked them in a big bag, a big cloth bag, and that's what I carried on the front of my bicycle. Hooked it on, put it on the bike, or over my shoulder when the weather was bad and I couldn't drive my bike. And then I would go down the street, take the bag out, throw it up on the porch, and keep walking. Keep driving, keep bicycling, keep moving, whatever it was, that's what I would do. The lessons that have guided me, these are the lessons that I learned that guided me through life. During this time, I was involved in a few activities that would set me on what eventually be a career choice, sales. I participated in, a little to my knowledge that I would be in sales, but I was in sales. I participated in activities at the local YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association, which was a place to go. They had a swimming pool, they had activities for young people. It was great. One of the benefits of the YMCA, was they had a summer camp for boys. So, to go to summer camp for 2 weeks every summer, it would cost about $20 or $25. I don't remember exactly. My parents, of course, couldn't afford it, but the Y provided boys, like me, an opportunity to earn their way to camp by selling boxes of saltwater taffy. Water taffy wrapped up in a little paper in a box. You had so many in a box, and you went around to knocking on doors to say, "Hi, I'm working my way to summer camp, and would you like to buy a box of saltwater taffy?" I kept knocking on doors and selling as much as I could until I earned enough to pay for my 2 weeks of summer camp. What an experience. Both learning to sell, I knew nothing about that, and being told no, quite a few times if my memory serves me, but also learning to make enough money to earn something. Again, as I mentioned, I worked for the Duncan Yo-Yo Company every fall from when I was 13 to about 16. That too was very good money. That was $5 an hour, and I no longer delivered newspapers. As a freshman in high school, I got a job with my friend Mike Bucano working at a local grocery store. I worked after school stocking shelves, loading groceries into bags, and just general cleanup around the store. That gave me some of the extra cash I needed to go to movies, or maybe a baseball game, or to buy a pack of cigarettes. Yeah, I know. I started smoking in high school. Bad. But everybody did it, so I had to be cool. Especially the boys. The boys had to be the coolest, and I felt in that category. So I had a really neat short-term job in 1960. The Democratic National Convention, the DNC, met in Chicago. And that year was because I had a job working for Western Union. Western Union was a company that did telegrams. You could send a telegram, which was you'd tell them what to say, and they would send it to somebody someplace else in the world, and it would tell them what you wanted to say. Pretty cool. So I worked for Western Union at the convention in Chicago at the Conrad Hilton Hotel. I would deliver telegrams to the various VIPs at the convention. There were no cell phones or computers back then. This was the big time, sending a telegram. There were only landlines and telephones, so I got a quick message to someone you sent from a Western Union telegram. It was a short message sent on a piece of paper and printed out, so you would give it to the person and say, "Here's a message from your mother who lives in who knows." So my job was to deliver that message to the person and get them to sign a piece of paper that says, "Yes, I gave them the message, they got it." The rising star at the time at this convention, this National Democratic Convention, was a gentleman named John Fitzgerald Kennedy, JFK. You may have heard of him. He became president. I was lucky enough, it was my turn when a Western Union telegram came up that was assigned to Mr. Kennedy. So I thought, oh boy, this is exciting. I'm going to get to meet John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Well, as I approached his office, I took it up to where he was. I approached his office. I was met immediately by two Secret Service agents, all dressed up very fancy. And even though I insisted that Mr. Kennedy must sign for the receipt, they signed the paper and politely but firmly told me to turn around and get out. Oh well, I tried. It was a fun place to be and an exciting job for 1 whole week. That was it. That was also the time that I began to save big money, because quite often when you delivered a telegram, somebody gave you a tip, 50 cents or maybe $1 or a quarter or whatever. So I was making big money, and I decided that this was going to be towards my first car. As I mentioned above, I spent summers in Delavan, Wisconsin, working, of course, and enjoying summer. I worked one summer at the big resort in Delavan called Lake Lawn Lodge. My first summer there, I had a job as a laborer that was building a new lodge, and they needed just grunt work to carry lumber or nails or whatever from point A to point B. It was good money. I had to work outside, which I liked. Nobody stuck me inside. And it was fun. That's young people that I had to meet. My second summer at Lake Lawn Lodge, I was able to get a real gravy job. You see, the lodge had a family section that consisted of little small cottages that families would rent for a week. And in those cottages, they didn't have refrigerators. They had ice boxes. So what's an ice box? An ice box was a box that on the top you put ice into it to keep your food or beverages or whatever cold, but you put a cube of ice. So my job was to drive a little truck around Lake Lawn Lodge and fill the ice boxes in the cottages with a block of ice. I think it was 30 or 40 pounds, and you put the ice box in once a day, and that was my job. It was a real cool job. There's a little pun there. And I got paid to do it. So, and then another summer, I worked on the lake on a floating pier where the boaters would come and they'd fill up their boats with gas. So I would fill up a boat with gas, they'd pay me and move on. That was fun. Again, it was outside. I enjoyed the sunshine, the fresh air. So the trend continues. Outside, fresh air, sunshine, and I made money. Another summer, I got stuck inside working in a factory, though, loading merchandise used to assemble products. That was okay, a good experience, what my father would call it, and I learned that I didn't want to do that again. You see, this feeling was that I should have my father's feeling was that I should have tough physical jobs. It made me realize that I did not want to work that hard all my life, and that I should go to college and get a good education so I did not have to work with my back, but rather with my mind. My father would say that all the time because he had to work with his back. His exercise worked. I got tired of that kind of work really quick. The real dream began to materialize. When I grew up, I really wanted to be a radio announcer, a person who speaks and plays music on the radio. That's what I wanted. My Uncle Bob Larson was a radio man in the radio in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he was living a good life. He had a big new house, new cars, lots of things that he said his wealth would provide, and all that he had to do was talk on the radio. Yep, that's for me. But then college came along. So as Mom and Dad suggested, I go to college, get a good education, and make money. My parents wanted me to continue my education, namely college. I was a good student in high school. I had good grades and should qualify for many of the good schools. My dad said that I needed to have a good education so that I would not have to work hard like he did all of his life. Mom thought I would make an excellent teacher. She was a teacher. And she loved doing what she did, and she thought I would do it well. So she strongly urged me to attend college at the Chicago Teachers College North. It was in the city, and I could get there by bus, so I enrolled and attended Chicago Teachers College North for 1 year. That just didn't do it for me, and I still had the dream. I was still interested in becoming a radio announcer. That's what I wanted. So I decided to switch to a small college, a newer college in downtown Chicago called Columbia College. And this school specialized in the broadcasting arts, is what they were called. I stayed at Columbia a short time and decided to leave to pursue my dream and get on with life, because I knew it all. I was ready. What could I possibly learn? There's a glimpse into your grandpa. I knew all I needed to know. My first radio job was, well, in Charles City, Iowa. KCHA Radio where this city boy learned all about health reports and grain prices and things I had never heard before. Charles City, Iowa was a small farming community, and all that farm stuff was terribly important to the people that lived there. I enjoyed my time in Charles City. I learned a lot, worked hard, and even got married to my best girlfriend back home, Jennifer McSorley, during that time. As a side note, though, although it took some correspondence courses when I was in the Army, I ultimately earned an associate's degree from Elgin Community College up in 1975. So I did go to college when I found out that I didn't know all the answers. So onward and upward. Let's talk about Jim Dunn and, who I just mentioned, Jennifer McSorley. It all started back in Delavan, Wisconsin. My parents bought a small cottage in Jackson Park. I enjoyed going there for the water and the fun, as well as a small boat that my dad bought with a 25-horsepower motor. When I became 16, my parents thought I was trustworthy enough to spend my summer break at the cottage. Mom and Dad and Dan, brother Dan, would go back to Chicago during the week because they worked. I should stay, but I had to have a job during the day to keep me busy and out of some trouble. As I mentioned earlier, Lake Lawn Lodge was building and needed runs to help carry lumber and supplies, so I got the job. I don't remember how much it paid, but it was decent. But that was good. I also met some nice new friends. I met a guy who was a resident of Delavan. His name was John Slicer. He lived on the lake but went to school in town. So part of the benefit of working at Lake Lawn was that we got to go to weekly teen dances for free. Yeah. So John and I went by boat one night to the dance at Lake Lawn Lodge because neither one of us had a shower. So that was pretty cool. One night we were there, and a very pretty girl named Jennifer McSorley walked by. I asked John if he knew her. He said, "Sure, I know her. Let me introduce you." So he introduced me to Jennifer. She was very pretty, so I asked her to dance. She said yes. We danced again at a few more dances. I finally asked her towards the end of the night if maybe I could call her and maybe we go out on a date. She was pretty smart. She was pretty, and I wanted to get to know her more. So she said yes, and I called her, and she agreed to go out on a Saturday night when my parents were in Delavan, and I should use my dad's car. Just happened that my dad had a brand new Chevy convertible, so it was pretty hot stuff. But on the weekend, I called Jennifer and we decided to go out on a date. It just so happened that my parents invited my aunt and my cousin up at the same time. Well, I was expected to entertain my attractive blonde cousin, who was a year older than I was. I could not go on the date with Jennifer. I called her and explained and asked to postpone the date. She said yes, of course. Great. We began dating. It was crazy.